I am live. What's up, YouTube? AJ here. So Heartland couldn't make it tonight, and I'm just going to do a real quick, short live. Hell, I may even be off here before I even get anybody in the live. This is going to be very short, very to the point. I have some things I was trying to get done tonight. That's another reason why I actually am pushing off what I was going to talk about. It's because my wife and I are redoing the kitchen right now, and I kind of forgot about this whole deal until just a few minutes ago when my wife stepped in the room and said, "Hey, don't you have a live tonight?" And what I was going to talk about, I kind of got in a hurry and rushed out here to get back to the house to grab this, that, and the other to try to finish up some of this project. And so I kind of spaced it out until she says something, and I thought, well, crap, since Heartland ain't here, she had a good point. Talk about something that is actually a personal experience, and so that's what I'm going to do. Is I'll just talk about a personal experience of a hindsight that I have in mind, and well, I didn't have in mind, but now I do because of her. I have this in mind to do this quick hindsight on, and so I'm just going to kind of roll it out without hesitating too much. But I'm going to say what's up to the two people that are in here. Heartland, what's up, brother? It's not a big deal, dude. Don't worry about it. I understand that stuff pops up, man. Especially when you got somebody ill to deal with and take care of, man. So do what you got to do. Hope she gets better soon, and we'll be seeing you around, brother. Keep me updated and let me know, because I know there's a lot more going on with that than just being ill. So keep me updated, brother. Nisi, happy New Year to you, and thanks for popping in, Ohio Prepper. Thanks for popping in. Now I can see it on here. And since I don't have the little screen and I'm not going to touch anything tonight, it won't be a big issue. I'm just going to kind of roll through it, not put anybody's comments up there. So, we was going to do this, like a jungle survival thing, which I have zero clue about at all, but it was an interesting story and had a really interesting twist to it. So Heartland and I will roll that out next time we go live. This time I'm going to go with what my wife suggested when she reminded me that I should be getting ready for my live 5 minutes ago. Then we decided to go with a personal experience. So Tribe is passed out. He's well, every once in a while you got to do that. Stay up, have a lot of fun, and then catch up your sleep when you're done having all that fun, Nisi. So I told him, I said, what's up? And I am still watching his stuff. I just am still not commenting as much as I need to be. So hopefully I will be on there soon. And Wizard, what's up? All right. So basically, I'm going to talk about something that happened when my wife and I was first together. So we've been together like 23 plus years. Basically right out of high school, we was together. And so this was like 2 years maybe after we was out of high school. So I was probably, early 20s, very early 20s, and still didn't even think about much of anything except for, going to work, having fun, taking care of kids and things like that. So I didn't really have any kind of mindset for anything, even being here in Kansas. But I grew up in like a trailer court, so tornado season wasn't. It sucked and it was always scary, but you lived in a trailer. What'd you do? You just wait and hope it doesn't blow the trailer house away. So it wasn't a big concern. Now, fast forwarding to that, well, and basically everywhere we've been, our school really, it was a kind of a little shitty school out in the middle of nowhere. It didn't really have a good tornado shelter there either. This was before they started having these new schools built with all these F5 tornado things in place and everything like that. So tornadoes weren't as scary to us, and plus we were young, so you really didn't think about them. You tried to watch them and see what happened or whatever. So with us both growing up in Kansas and in areas where we didn't really have, excellent tornado shelters, neither one of us really thought about it too much until, fast forward in a few years, and we're early 20s, hell, I don't even know if my wife was actually 20 at the time this happened because of how young the girls was. Um, but we lived in a town here in Kansas, and I worked, I don't know what, 15 miles away probably across town. And it was bad storm season. And we lived basically at that time, especially, we lived right in Tornado Alley. So, tornadoes were pretty regular. But this particular night, actually, we had a tornado not even a mile away from the house that was on the ground. And at this time, when I first heard about it, it was within the city, which was Great Bend at the time. It was in that city, and it was moving across the city, at a pretty slow rate. And they had several of them popping up and down and stuff. But it was a bad storm, and we knew that it was going to be out toward the house pretty soon. And I didn't even have a cell phone at that time. Can't remember exactly how I heard about it or how my wife got a hold of me. But I knew it was an issue because I knew she was out there by herself, and I knew that everything was kind of, sketchy at best. So when I found out the tornado was getting closer and closer to my house, and I knew we didn't have like a shelter, I did a really dumb move. I hopped in the vehicle and left work. I hauled ass to the house. I had to, like, Ace Ventura is what I always think of on Pet Detective, where he's driving in the car and he's got his head hanging out the window, because he can't see out of his windshield. That's what I was doing because I couldn't see because of the rain, the wind, the lightning. Everything was so bad that you couldn't see out your windshield. The windshield wipers couldn't keep up. So I was looking out the window, trying to keep an eye on the, dotted lines and everything. And then once I hit the dirt roads, I just kind of was, looking out, trying to eyeball where the ditch was and everything like that. So by the time I got home, I think it was on the radio, it said that that tornado, because we lived right near the college, and so the tornado on the radio was said to be about 1.5 miles would have been north and west of my house. And you could really tell because of how the weather was. You could actually tell that that tornado was horribly close. So I'm just trying to hurry my ass up and get home because I know I got my wife. I got 2 toddlers in diapers at this time. They were wee little ones. And then she would have been probably, my oldest daughter would have been like 3 at the time. So, and my wife's here, nowhere to go. And there's nothing I could do. I mean, all I was doing was just going there to comfort them, basically, is all that was going to happen because there was nowhere we could go at that point. So I just I get to the house, I run through the door and I'm hollering for them, and I hear them off in the corner, hey, I'm over here. So I go in there, and so in this house where we lived at was actually an old army barracks. And so it was really long. It was a super long trailer house, basically. And, a little bit wider, it was like 20-foot wide army barracks. And we lived in the front half of the house, basically. The back half was just kind of like storage area and everything like that. But in this one room in particular where she was our washroom. So it had the water lines in there. It had a concrete floor. It had some concrete walls and everything because it was an old army barracks. Whatever reason, they had concrete walls in there for this shower area. So that's where she was, and and anybody that's seen my wife, she's like that big around. She's a little 100 pounds, soaking wet probably, with clothes on. Had drug a completely full washer with clothes in it, and actually water in it, and the dryer over into a corner, and her and the kids were huddled in the corner. So I just kind of hopped over them, jumped down in there with them, and we just sat there, and I kind of hugged her up, and we just sat there and kind of waited for the storm to pass. And it was bad. I mean, it was really, really bad. Shit was torn up all over the place. And I was sitting there this whole time with my little ones and my wife, just, running all the things through my head of what I should, even right then, just like what I should have done, what I should have had in place, all these things like that. Just kind of freaking out in my head, but trying to stay calm on the outside. My wife was being amazing and staying super calm and, holding the babies and just keeping everybody really, really good. So that part went really well. But it was a very good awakening because, I mean, you know, stuff's breaking. There's no power. It's horribly loud. Windows are breaking. It's just horribly loud. Like anybody that's been in a tornado before, you know, like that sound and all these things just banging up against everything. And that was the first time in my life I was truly scared of a tornado. And it wasn't necessarily for me. It was because of my wife and the kids. You know, I was just like terrified, I guess, because of how it was going. And I was helpless, 100% helpless. I couldn't do anything. So uh, we sat there and we went through it, you know, and I didn't have cell phone. We didn't have a portable radio, nothing like that. So once it was kind of all settled down, it seemed like everything was good. There's still a lot of lightning and everything going on because we had a little window there. There's one little window was the worst part about where we was. And so once the wind and everything that you could see with the lightning, you could kind of see and hear that everything was pretty well calming down and, you know, tapering off. I got up and I went out and I, you know, fired the car up, started listening to the radio, seeing kind of what was where and everything like that. So everything kind of moved on. Fast forward, the next day we get up. Ark, what's up, man? We get up, we go out, kind of assess the damage, look around and everything. And the whole time in my head, I'm just thinking, good God, man, why ain't I got something in place for this? You know what? I was extremely young. Didn't really think about nothing like that until I was actually in that situation, and then trying to figure out, you know, like what I could do to help this be a lot better situation next time. So, you know, and we're assessing all this damage and everything. So it was a really interesting, scary, but interesting situation, especially reflected back on it now. And then going and seeing the actual damage that was around and seeing, you know, how close the tornado was to the house, which, so fast forward another 2 years after we'd done a couple things, which, okay, sorry, let's not fast forward 2 years yet. Let's roll on with this. So after this situation, my wife and I had talked about, you know, some things that we could possibly do to try to make it better. And one of the things was, yeah, no kidding, put in a storm shelter. Simple, easy, not too expensive. But being extremely young parents, any expense is kind of expensive. So, are you gonna do about this? Oh, our shed that blew down, or 2 sheds that blew over in Nisi? Is that what you're talking about? The 2 sheds that are kind of gone out here? Or, yeah, so I guess there's another one there. Yeah, we're just going to have to rebuild the sheds. That sucks. I'll take some pictures. That unfortunately I haven't got to it yet. But so there's still a lot of debris and stuff on the ground from all that. You know, trees down on the ground, the building that's blew over. You can see all the boards and everything. You can see the half of the hay bale that's left from the donkey that was eating it. So all that's kind of still there and everything. So we'll just end up rebuilding it. I mean, it sucks. There wasn't insurance on it, on either one of the buildings that blew over, because to have the insurance on the buildings out here, they have to meet, you know, certain code and everything like that. And none of my outbuildings meet the code, so it is what it is. You know, if something happens to them, then we just rebuild them and move on from there. So we'll have some extra work to do, and hopefully we'll get it done soon, because we really actually need the buildings pretty bad. So we'll get them hopefully here. It's going to be hard to do it during winter because it's hard to dig the holes. It's hard to do the concrete, stuff like that. It's a little bit more difficult to do during winter. So hopefully if we have some nice days and we can plan to punch some holes and to put some concrete in the ground, we'll get those done. But back to, thanks for asking though, by the way. Back to what I was talking about with the storm shelter situation, or the tornado situation. We've been talking about, you know, while we was looking at the damage there and everything, we was talking about like what we should do to try to, you know, make this a lot better. And And we just came up with, even though it's expensive, we really can't afford it, counting all the things that we really can't afford and we really can't do. Um, it was easy enough to just go, you know what, we're just going to make this happen because of the kids and you being here at the house. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what we got to do. We're going to make this happen. So I called around, found a place that did, because at this time in particular, I didn't have no equipment. I didn't want to try to dig, a giant hole to do this with, etc. and things like that. So we ended up having them come out, dig a storm shelter, put it in for us, relatively close to the house. And so we had a storm shelter within, 2 weeks after that. And it was that same year, actually, that we had another tornado that was extremely close to the house again. In fact, so we went to the storm shelter, put the kids down in the storm shelter, and we was able to stand up on the top level and be able to look across the field that was in front of the house, and 2 fields over, which was about a mile and a quarter, we had one of them like a snake tornado, so it comes down and does like that. And it's a really fast moving tornado. We was actually able to stand there and watch that for quite some time before we were like, oh shit, man, we better go ahead and get down in the shelter, close these doors up so no debris is going down there, nothing happens to us, and we can't get the doors closed, things like that. So the storm shelter, really helped us be able to protect ourselves and also be able to, kind of watch it a little bit and see what's coming at us, with knowing that we had really good protection right there for us and our kids. So that was definitely a blessing that I was able to, at a very young age, with very young, young kids. Like I said, I may have been 20 when we had 3 kids and was trying to get started in life. So to come up with the extra money to get that put in and to make all that stuff happen, it was nothing more than a blessing, I guess. And like I always say, I'm not religious, but it was truly a blessing to do that. So that was nice to have that storm shelter in. So I'll just do a little hindsight on that. Hindsight, of course, would have been as soon as we bought this place. So as soon as we bought the place, we should have put a storm shelter in, just straight out of the gate. We should have put a storm shelter in. And I should have done it in such a fashion to where it was under the house and we could have accessed it from inside the house. Because with the hindsight, now I know how to dig under a house and put a storm shelter and do that type of stuff. So I would have found somebody that's able and capable of doing the same thing back then, dig under there, be able to put that storm shelter in. And then I would have had my food, my water, everything. We didn't even have water in that room. We didn't have nothing. If something bad would have happened, oh man, I would have been 100% screwed and, freaking out trying to figure out what to do for my family because I had nothing in there at all. Never even considered, crossed my mind to have something in that room or in that area to sustain us for any amount of time if something was to happen. So, yeah, Art, I don't know what the weather's like there, but yeah, digging a hole now, even in hindsight, shoveling a pick really isn't that bad of work, especially if you kick on the radio and pretend like it's exercise, you do proper form and everything like that. You're working muscles, you're getting your exercise, and you're doing the sweat. You're making yourself sweat. You're getting rid of that stuff. It's really not that hard to dig a hole. We just I dug a hole. It's exactly 4 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet deep the other day, and the ground's pretty frozen. And it took me, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours to dig it up. So it went terrible. So yeah, there again, thanks for bringing that up. Hindsight there, especially at 20 years old, man, I could have dug that hole easily in a few days probably. And then again, yeah, I'll reference this book here. Right here, they did all these studies in here. You can easily dig a lot more than a guy thinks they can, or a girl thinks they can, because even in there's a story about 2 college girls that did quite a bit of digging in like a 36-hour time frame for one of those shelters that actually held up really good. So yeah, Arca, there's plenty of excuses, and I don't know that they're excuses, man. Everybody's busy, and digging a hole is kind of like, oh man, I gotta dig again. But yeah, it's yeah, I guess there's no excuses, I guess. um, other than it does suck to dig, man. I like Heartland, that dude, that's what he does for a living, and he digs like a badger, man. And the only reason I know that is because we went up, hung out with him for a little bit, went shooting, and we had to dig a couple holes, and I'm over there digging, and these are little tiny holes. He's like, "Walk, done." I'm like, "Holy cow, man!" So some people can dig a lot better than others. Nisi, the author is recent reading lessons. Crescent H. Carey. Since there we go. Can't pronounce things very well. And so Pastor Joe is the guy he had on his channel. He was referring to this book, and he's actually the one that got me to go in there and actually want to get this book. It's very interesting. What I've read so far, and a lot of the stuff is holy cow, you already found it? Good God, man. Where I live, there's after 12 inches you hit Missouri clay. Yeah, that would suck. So here, some people call it a Maddox, I guess. I call it a pickaxe. It's neither here nor there, I guess. But one side's like yay big, the other side is like a point, and I take that thing and I'll swing it everything I got. In some spots in my yard, man, I swing that thing like hell, and I'll hit, and I'll get a chunk that's about that tall, the width of that thing, and maybe like that deep, and I'm like, dang it. And so, but I've got my wife, and she's a hell of a worker, so she always comes out and helps me. So we'll kind of take turns. I'll bang a bunch of stuff loose, then she'll shovel it out of the way, or she'll bang a bunch of stuff loose, and geez. Ark, dug a lot of ditches, but Nate never dug no shoulders. Yeah, boy. Yeah, you're an electrician. I keep forgetting that. So I bet you've dug a lot in your life too, because you guys buried lots of lines. Yeah, you've done a lot of digging, and plus electrical work. That's just tough work in general. So you'll be fine if you ever decide to dig one, man. You got plenty of energy. You may not think so, but the work you do, yeah, you definitely could easily do it. But yeah, anybody that's in like Kansas or any of these areas that's tornado stricken, man, I would highly suggest digging that tornado just for that sense of security, because that is the worst feeling in the world to know that all you had to do is put a hole in the ground, man. And it ain't even going to be a huge hole. Get below ground, put a little bit of concrete above your head, on the sides, whatever. Even if you only went 4 feet in the ground, I would say it'd feel like a coffin. But it would get you below ground enough with something above you that you'd be safe. That was by far. And ever since that day, I've never lived nowhere without a way to protect my family from a tornado. So, like here, it's only a partial basement. And it's got a day or two worth of food down there, I'd guess, and probably a day or two worth of water. It's got a Berkey down there, so I can pretty much take anything and dump in there and get good water out of it. And we got the big Berkey up here. So, yeah, the hindsight on that is definitely have a storm shelter. And having exactly what I had back then, the hindsight on that, if I was in the exact same predicament, I had a shovel, I had a pickaxe, I did concrete work. Yeah, or actually, so Connex size hole. There's like my personal opinion on that. I think that's a great idea, except for like one thing. If I was to do that, because I've thought about it many times, I'm just too lazy to dig that big of a hole, and it costs a lot to rent equipment. But I still keep kicking that around. If I was to ever do that, I would brace the ever-living hell out of the sides of that thing from the inside of the container out to make sure the sides were braced extremely well. I would seal the container a little bit more so than it already is. I would pour some concrete, whether it be 6 inches or 8 inches on the outside, Since you got that box there, probably 6 would be probably more than enough. Go ahead and pour that in there. Yeah, they need a lot of reinforcement because, like, stacking them, and I'm sure you already know this, Art, but, stacking them, you can stack them as high as you want, I think. And them things are strong as hell. You ain't going to do nothing to them, but just burying them, I think, is the worst thing to do. Now, if you do enough reinforcement and put something around it, like concrete or something, whatever it is, to take some of that force, then once you put the dirt around it, then you ain't got no worries, I don't think. So, but that is a hell of a lot of room. You can get a 40-foot container with, if you get the tall walls, it's what, 9'6" on the inside, I think, for the tall walls. And the short ones, I think, are 8 foot, somewhere in that area. And yeah, that's a great tornado shelter, amongst other things. Boy, yeah, those would be terribly fun. I wish I could actually do a project like that and be able to, go ahead and put that on here. But anyways, hell, as far as that goes, I've seen a lot of tornadoes in my day now, and it's kind of nice because I always have somewhere to go, and I kind of push my luck a little bit more so than I should, just because I know I have somewhere to go. And so sometimes my wife and I will sit out on the porch and, drink beer or whatever. And it's perfect because my porch, if you look out my porch, you can see for like 3 miles, at least 3 miles. And so as storms come in, you can just watch them roll in nice and slow. Or if they're moving fast, you can just see all the clouds covered in and everything. So it's really nice to sit out there and just watch them. And you can see the funnel clouds and everything like that. It does suck because, you can haul ass and hurry up and get into your shelter or whatever, but it does suck because, you're probably going to get some damage on the farm. Your animals are in danger. My wife and I have joked and kicked around for years building, like, dog tornado shelters so that I know I can run my dogs down the hole and they'd be all right. And the donkey. Run the dogs and the donkey down the hole. The ducks and the chickens, I don't really have too many feelings for them. Cats would never go in there, so that'd be, you could just mauled up by cat. But like the dogs and the donkey, I'm pretty sure I could persuade them to go down in there. So it would be nice to do that. It's kind of a running joke, but also it's kind of a consideration after I've got that nuclear war survival book to put a couple cages down there for, like some rabbits, but also be able to run my dogs down there. And that way, if anything happens, once we're done, we still have some food that we can bring up. We still have some, canine protection we can bring up, and, your best friend anyway. So it'd be nice to be able to do that type of thing. Yeah. Or the storage and the cots, and I really didn't realize how many cots I had until the other day. I don't even know where I got them all at. I started counting them, and I was like, holy cow, man, I've got 12 cots. That's weird. I don't know where I got them. Don't know why I got so many. But I got them, so I guess I can sleep a few extra people. I've got the bus, sleep a few people. The van, sleep a few people. Excursion, sleep a few people. House would sleep 12 people comfortably. And then I got, a couple storage containers or whatever. Like that dude in the movie takes shelter where he goes. I haven't seen that one, Nisi. I think I've seen it on the shelf, but is that the dude that built it in the backyard and everybody was kind of looking at him kind of crazy, and then it was some kind of a weird storm that came, or a world-ending storm, I guess. I think I've seen the previews to it, but I never actually watched it. I need to start watching a few more movies. Now it's wintertime. That's supposed to be what I'm able to do, is watch some movies, and some of them are like the live I was going to do with Heartland was going to be with that jungle thing. So we was going to do that. And there's actually a good movie. Well, I've been told there's a good movie about that. And a few of these other ones that we've talked about, there's supposed to be some really good movies. So I need to start watching some of these, preferably before doing the lives would be helpful. But and there's where I pretend like I'm going to prep for doing a live, and I just don't. But the lives just seem easier to me than just doing a real quick video or whatever. But I do have some videos I'd like to actually put out. But it sucks now that I've lost most of my video editing, what little I was able to do. So it kind of sucks to do it because I can't even put like a beginning to it to, kind of make it somewhat interesting. And the lives, at least, then I can look at people's comments and talk. Or I really enjoy it a lot when I have somebody here that I can just talk to back and forth, because I just work a lot better that way rather than talking to myself. Other than when I'm just talking to myself, and then that's a different story. But anyways, I'm going to kind of cut this off now here real quick. Just wanted to kind of talk about some tornadoes and stuff. Kind of bad timing because of the bad tornadoes that happened. Talk about and joke about tornadoes is really bad timing on that. But it's good timing, I guess, because it is something to keep in your mind to try to, have a place to go and everything like that. But, and it's terribly sad when, something devastating happens. And, we try to run around here and help people around here locally. I never really go outside of my local area to help people, but, if there's somebody here locally within, and I say locally, I mean within a 20-mile radius, either direction, then we go kind of try to help them, whether it be clean up, get them something they need, take them fuel, anything like that. So, it's just something for everybody to keep in mind too there, I guess, when you're talking about tornadoes, prepping of any kind, if you do have a small community around you, even if they're not into prepping and stuff like that, be kind to them, help them out, try to show them that you're interested in helping them and stuff, because even if you're not into prepping, or you're not expecting nothing in return, at least they know you're good-hearted people. So if something does happen to you, then hopefully they would come and help you at some point. So keep that in mind. Help your neighbor, even if your neighbor's a long ways away, help them out as much as you can. So thank you for the update and info. Nisi, let me know if you get that book, and let me know how you guys read into that. I got to read something probably 4 or 5 times before I sink it in real good, because I'll start reading it and then my imagination runs wild, and then I'm not really actually paying attention to what I'm reading. I'm already building things in my head. So as I was reading like this book right here, as soon as I started reading about how they were building it, I started trying to do it in my head, and then it just kind of keeps going and going and going from there. So I get more and more elaborate on it all. Good point, Ohio Pepper. Thanks. Never wrong time to share something that could potentially save somebody's life. Yeah, that's true. It's just, it just seems kind of awkward to me to talk about something like that right after something bad happens, I guess. So anyways, thank you all for showing up here and supporting, as always. And for all you guys in here that have your channels and everything, I still am on there. I'm still listening. I comment once in a while, and I apologize I'm not commenting more. Everybody's busy, and so that's no excuse to not do it more often. So I will be trying to hit that a lot more often once this cold is set in here real good. So y'all be safe, and thanks for stopping in. Later.